This is Robert Hillier, and I work with emotion and the spirit within. This is how I help people. I help people develop strategies for working with these two different aspects that can seem to be the same thing, but in fact play very different roles in how we grow and develop. And they're both important roles. We all use them. But the problem is, if you get them mixed up, your life can really go the wrong way. And if you get it right, your life will start to stream ahead in a way you probably never thought possible. Now in this video, we're talking about emotion. We're talking specifically about the cycle of emotion, because you've probably noticed in your life that emotion doesn't necessarily run a logical course. In fact, it doesn't have much respect for common sense at all. Emotion has its own sense of logic. Often this logic is in complete conflict with what we regard as the normal logic. Normal logic says 1 and 1 equals 2, or 2 and 2 equals 4. It's very predictable, and it all works and all fits together. Emotional logic doesn't work like that. It says something like, a dirty oily rag plus an old broken down car can equal a brand new car. It doesn't make sense logically, but in the logic of emotion, it does make sense. And once we understand that logic of emotion, that's when we can start to get hold of what our emotions are, because it's our emotions which are most likely to sabotage our life. And here's the cycle. This is a cycle which shows us how emotions can spiral upwards or downwards, depending on whether or not we are resolving what we need to resolve. Because if we don't resolve what we need to resolve, they spiral downwards and have lots of difficulties in our life. But if we resolve what we like, what we're resolving, then they start to play a very important part in our life, and they enable us and they help us to go forward. The logic of emotion, everything begins at the start, when something new comes into our life, something new and significant. When something new and significant comes into our life, the first thing we're most likely to do is to go into a state of stargazing. And in stargazing, what we tend to do, because we want this thing, we want to really bond with it, we need to connect with it before we can deal with it properly. So in stargazing, we tend to see everything in positive terms. And what we're doing is we're seeing it in an emotionally skewed way, impossibly skewed often, because we tend to ignore the bad and focus on the good. And this is especially true when you go into a romantic relationship. Remember those times back there when we first met the love of our life. It was a pretty wonderful time. And many of us hoped it would last forever, and it felt just so good. But it wasn't real, it wasn't the full reality, because it was a skewed reality. It's when we first connected, something significant. And that something significant could be a new romantic relationship, or it could be a new car, or it could be a new job, or it could be anything like that. For this video, we're going to focus on a new relationship, because that's where it shows itself most strongly, and which most of us understand, because many of us have been there and we've seen that. So now we've connected, we have to commit. And by commitment, that means we've got to make some rules and regulations. And in every one of those rules we make, there's going to be a benefit and a drawback. And the benefits have to outweigh the drawbacks, otherwise there's no point in going on. In other words, if you decide to invest $100,000 in your business, you're not going to do that unless the benefits of the profit are most likely to outweigh the drawback of having to find that money. If you're in a relationship, you may decide you're going to commit and become monogamous with each other. Well, that means that's great. The benefit's great because you've got this love and you've got this great passion going between you, and that's wonderful. But it also means that you can't go out and start having relationships and having sexual, passionate times with other people. If the benefit of that commitment outweighs that drawback, you're on the way. Then we move on to the next stage, which is we celebrate. And why we celebrate is because it's working. This relationship is actually working. We're now producing something which neither of us could produce alone. We're working together and we're really getting there. And traditionally in the marriage sector, this can be stargazing, can be courting, commitment can be the marriage, when you keep committing to each other, and the celebration can be the birth of a new child. So it's all working along very, very nicely. But of course, nothing good can last forever, and nothing bad lasts forever. But we've had some really great times now, where we've really got bonded. And this has been summer, because we're going to find that our relationships all do have seasons, and this will be the seasons that we're going through. But of course, summer doesn't last forever, because it's always followed by autumn. And there's autumn coming next. And autumn starts with a sense of betrayal. Because what's actually happening is the good times are no longer feeling as good as what they were. They're still there, but what's coming in is the reality of things aren't 100% great and where there's no bad at all. And this often comes as a bit of a shock. The betrayal is because we feel betrayed because it's not as good as what we really were led to believe it was going to be. We were led to believe it just by the simple feelings we had. It can be lots of things. It can be a real betrayal, or it can be just to feel a sense of betrayal. But it can come with a shock when suddenly the reality that there's a negative side to life also enters. And when that happens, we then go to a stage of withdrawal, because we've got to just decide, do I stay or do I go? Do I put time into working with this? And if I do put in the time, are the benefits going to be there at the end of it? Is it worth it? From there, we go into a stage of we procrastinate. And the reason we procrastinate is because we have to find out, we have to give ourselves time to decide if this very, very important time or this very important thing, if we're going to deal with it or not. Because if we're going to take the next step, it's a pretty significant step. So we need to have the benefits there. Procrastination is often looked on as being bad, but that's only if it goes for too long. And I have come across people who've been stuck in procrastination for months or even years, and some people for a whole lifetime. That's not good. And that's a very debilitating effect on your life. But for a short time, hours or days maybe, it's okay, because it means that we're really giving our future due consideration. Now, one of the reasons we wanted to procrastinate is because of this next stage. Because this next stage is when we've got to handle our demons. And these are often the demons we haven't wanted to handle all at ever. We've all thought we might get away from it. In fact, and if this is a relationship, these demons would not have come up except for the relationship that we're in. And it's very, very common for people to start, when this happens, to start blaming the relationship they're in, the partner they're with. That, I shouldn't have done this. This was the worst thing I ever did. But it's really not, because the demons you're facing, they've been triggered by whatever you're relating to. They've been triggered by this new love of your life. but they're not caused by it. The demons were there way, way, way back before you guys ever met, before you ever got this new thing in your life. And the demons, they are the start of winter. And a lot of people want to avoid winter. And you can, but it doesn't work. If you avoid winter, it's not going to work well at all. It means that you're going to stay right stuck where you are, and if you're not moving forward, you are going backwards. Here's our demons, and to move forward, although it feels bad in the demons, it feels worse when we get to rock bottom. Because rock bottom, we can't go lower than that. This is where we start to have to either shape up or ship out. We've got to deal with the demons that we've got that have come up. And right here, we have a choice. And this is break point. We either break through or we break down. It's one or the other. And if you break down, you go you're still in the demons, and you're still in there, and often we can go right back here, back into procrastination. Or another way of breaking down is we say, righto, I can't handle this, and I'm going to go and get a new one. I'm going to go and get myself another partner. In which case, I go back and start stargazing again. Sure, I get away from that partner, but what all I've done is got away from the trigger. And I go and find somebody else, and someone else comes in my life, and I'll guarantee it won't be long before the same thing is triggered. It might be in a different scenario, it might be a different coat, but it'll be virtually the same issues, because you cannot go forward unless these particular issues are being dealt with, which is the good and the bad of a relationship. The relationship that you're in is going to take you to those issues. And those issues, you don't want to go there because they feel so bad. Yet, if you don't go there, you can't go forward. Now we go into happiness. And in happiness, because we've broken through, because we've got rid of whatever was holding us back, we are now stronger than we've ever been. We're a better version of ourselves than we've ever been. And life is changing. And it's changing. It's one of the reasons we really didn't want to break through in the first place, because although it sounds like a good idea, it also means we've got to go into the unknown, and we don't want to do that because we'd like to stay safe and secure. But now we've done it and it's there. Now we are feeling pretty good. We're feeling happy, we're feeling achieving, we're feeling at peace with ourselves. And this is where all your dreams and all your wishes are likely to come true, because you've now become the person you need to be, so that A, the old issues cease to matter, and B, you're capable of doing much more. And as a result of that, you become into a stage of attraction. And this is where you attract new friends, because some of your old friends can't keep up with you now, and you just lose some friends. But now you have new friends who are at the same or similar level to what you are. You get new opportunities which you could not have ever handled before. Have you ever noticed that the successful handling of one opportunity brings in a lot more opportunities? You've probably noticed that in your life anyway. This is why it's happening. It's not just coming in because those opportunities are there, because they've always been there. These opportunities are coming there because you become the person now who can recognize and see those new opportunities. And you become the person who can actually handle those new opportunities. And of course, because the new opportunities are there, we now go into another cycle because new stuff's coming into our life. So, of course, we have to go through a stage of commitment to these opportunities. And then we go into a stage of celebrating because these new opportunities are bringing something better into our life, and so on. And so we go around again. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. Now, if we are cycling forward, we're going into health. Cycling up means we go into health and vitality. That's a great life. But if we're cycling downwards, when we cycle downwards, you go into depression. And in the extreme, suicide. And one might say at this point, suicide is a mindset, and it also means you're in rock bottom, and there's only one way up. If you don't suicide, the chances are of you breaking through and going into health and vitality are very, very high. There's a lot of research on suicide, which sort of says that people who feel suicidal and stay with it and stick with it and break through, their life becomes better than it's ever been. This is the cycle of emotion. This is the logic of emotion. We're going to be talking about this all the time. But as you can see, if you try and apply the normal logic to emotional situations, it's not going to work, and it's going to leave you very frustrated and discontented. And that's when you start to cycle downwards into depression, and when you start to think there is no way out. Because in fact there is no way out if you're thinking logically. But if you're using the logic of emotion, yes, it then becomes comprehensible, and we do go forward. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.